Greetings all, and welcome to the 51st episode of TM Technical Movement. For today, we will be looking at the Grass Pledge, Trop Kick, Sappy Seed, Drum Beating, Snap Trap, Apple Acid, Grav Apple, Flower Trick and Syrup Bomb attacks, and the Forest Curse and String Sap techniques. In effect, the Grass Pledge attack involves user attacking with a mystical column of grass that increases in power when combined with a Fire Pledge attack. The Water, Fire, and Grass Pledge attacks are part of a special series of moves that no normal Pokemon can learn naturally, but have become teachable in recent years by specialized move tutors in places like the Unova region and through TMs. Unfortunately, because the moves are effectively based off the Hydro Cannon, Blast Bread, and Frenzy Plant attacks, only starter Pokemon and the members of the Pansage family can learn these moves, though they do not have to be especially friendly or fully evolved to do so. The Grass Pledge attack effectively involves user attacking with a powerful column of grass to inflict damage, making it little more than a slightly overpowered Leaf Tornado attack. However, if a partner uses either Fire Pledge or Water Pledge in the same turn, something very unique will happen. If Fire Pledge is used in the same turn, the Grass Pledge attack is influenced by the move's unique power and is converted into a Fire Pledge attack, doubling its base power in the process and becoming a full-on blast of might that might actually create a raging sea of fire as a result of the Grass Pledge attack being ignited. It only lasts about 4 combat turns, but while present, this raging sea of fire deals intense damage to the opposing side of the battlefield and inflicts about 12.5% worth of every opponent's maximum HP at the end of every turn. When combined with the Water Pledge attack, the Water Pledge attack will be influenced by the move's unique power and will instantly convert into a Grass Pledge attack, doubling its base power in the process and becoming a full-on blast of might that creates a temporary swamp on the opposing side of the battlefield. While it also only lasts about 4 combat turns, while present, the swampy ground beneath the opponent's feet will effectively reduce their speed by 50%. This, in addition to the fact that the move is affected by items like King's Rocks, can make it a devastating combination attack to have access to when a partner has a different pledge attack to play, even though its power cannot be increased by a Grass Gem, which might explain why it was selected to become TM146 and Silphco's 9th generation line of TMs. Due to its unique attributes, there is no way to directly counter or dodge the Grass Pledge attack. Strong metallic armor can help reduce negated damage dealt by the attack, but weaker metallic armor is unlikely to perform as well, and rocky armor in general is likely to take exceptional damage from it in most situations. The Grass Pledge attack is decently powerful on its own, despite being extremely rare to see, but when combined with the power of a Fire Pledge or Water Pledge attack, the sheer devastation this move can wreak makes it a move more than worth preparing for with Pokemon possessing strong defenses, especially in multi-Pokemon battles. Considered to be the signature attack of Zarina, the Trop Kick attack involves user striking the opponent with a kick while exuding a tropical aroma. The Trop Kick is an exceptionally rare close quarters attack that only Zarina are able to learn as a result of their unique biology and offensive strengths. Unlike a lot of other Grass-type Pokemon, Zarina is most skilled in using physical attacks, and thus the normal Grass-type moves utilized by a lot of Pokemon do not work well with them. To compensate though, they naturally learn this devilish attack after evolving and can use it to cause great frustration for the opposing side. In essence, this attack involves Zarina striking the opponent with a forceful kick while exuding a potent aroma from their bodies. This attack does moderately strong damage at a base level, and does have a Grass-type assignment as a result of the plant-based powers these creatures use to energize themselves while executing the attack, but its real benefit shines against physically aggressive opponents. The aroma that wafts from the bodies of these creatures has a calming effect on the opposing Pokemon, and is so alluring that it causes their will to fight physically to decrease, effectively lowering their attack stat with every successful strike. This might not do Zarina much justice against special attackers, but this move's ability to slowly nullify the physical offenses of opponents nonetheless makes it a potent tactical move and definitely something worth abusing if the situation calls for it. Since an opponent must utilize its legs in order to execute a Trop Kick attack, damaging the offending appendages before the attack can connect can help reduce and negate the damage dealt by the attack. Otherwise, however, the attack is extremely difficult to dodge in close quarters. Metallic armor can help reduce and negate the damage dealt by the attack, but rocky armor is likely to take exceptional damage from it in most situations. The Trop Kick attack is a rare enough move that most trainers won't have to worry about facing it a lot, but if the opposition has access to a Zarina with this move, only decent defenses and a focus on negating or otherwise ignoring the debuffs it inflicts on the attack stat will be able to reduce its overall impact in a fight. Considered to be a signature attack of Special Eevee, the Sappy Seed attack involves user generating a massive plant stalk that then rains energy sapping hard-shelled seeds onto an opponent to deal damage. The Sappy Seed attack is a rare move that is only learnable by a select few types of Eevee who have unique elemental access to the powers possessed by their evolved forms because of an abnormal mutation in their bodies that stabilizes their genes to make them less prone to evolving, but at the same time grants them limited access to the powers the evolved forms can wield. Even if the move itself is still very much artificial in its usage and requires a special move tutor to even learn. In essence, this attack harnesses the plant-based power of Leafeon and enables special Eevee to use their connection with plants and the natural world as a whole to create and plant an energized seed that grows instantly after being planted, birthing a massive plant stalk akin to ones that can be found in tales of great giants in the clouds. This plant's sudden growth means that its cells can only support its form for a short period of time before collapsing and decaying, but in that short period of time, the plant uses what energy it has to generate seeds of its own, which it then releases. These seeds are quite large and have incredibly hard shells, resulting in any that land on an opponent dealing considerable physical damage to them in a fashion that is equivalent to being hit by any traditional grass-type attack, hence the move's type assignment. However, this is not the end of the attack by a long shot. The plant seeds themselves are actually parasitic in nature, and when they hit an opponent, they will break open and trigger a reaction that causes the developing plant inside to sprout out and cover the target, effectively inflicting a leech seed condition on them and slowly sapping the opponent's energy if they survive the initial blow, or restoring the sap energy to the move's user. This helps to make the attack a devastating force to be reckoned with, and even if the Eevee using the move cannot get a stab bonus from it, it is still a powerful offensive and tactical tool that can make these Eevee a far greater threat than their average counterparts. Since the Sappy Seed attack is a projectile attack, countering the move can prove to be difficult to do unless one can use an intense burst of flame to destroy the projectiles before they make contact. Otherwise, it is extremely difficult to dodge the attack. Strong metallic armor can help reduce or negate the damage dealt by this attack, but weaker metallic armor is unlikely to perform as well, and rocky armor in general is likely to take exceptional damage from it in most situations. This attack is certainly one that very few ever get to see, if only because it is limited to only being learned by a select few Eevee compared to the global population, but it is nonetheless a powerful move that can definitely make these little creatures a far bigger threat than they might otherwise seem, and in the case of this move in particular, leave their opponents with an irritating side effect that can slowly sap them of whatever energy they have left as their opponent slowly recovers their own energy at the same time. Considered to be the signature attack of Rillaboom, the drum beating attack involves user beating an energy-infused drum in order to summon roots that then forcefully whip and entangle the opponent to deal damage. The musical tendencies of the entire Grookey family are a feature that helps to define them strongly, and their connection to sound as a way to both attack and communicate with both plants and animals alike reaches its peak performance and evolution, and in turn, the acquisition of this unique attack. In executing the drum beating attack, Rillaboom take the drumming sticks they use to play their stump drum and hammer on it as they infuse it with natural plant-based energy. In doing so, they tune the drum into acting as if it were alive still, namely by sprouting thick roots that are then commanded with the beat of the drum to attack an opponent by entangling them and forcefully whipping them to inflict substantial damage. While the move is still effective by items like King's Rocks, despite not requiring direct contact, what really works to spice up the attack outside of pure damage is the fact that these roots will not completely go away after the attack and will instead partially remain intact even if they are dead, continuing to entangle and slow down the opponent and in turn lowering their speed stat with every successful strike. This can help Rillaboom get the drop on the opposition readily and deliver follow-up blows that can likely deal some immense damage retribution or otherwise finish off an opponent, making the attack a useful move for them that can more than make life difficult for those that need a speed advantage in order to overcome these otherwise physically daunting apes. Since roots are needed to execute a drum beating attack, striking otherwise damaging these appendages can help reduce or negate the damage dealt by this attack. Otherwise, however, the attack is extremely difficult to dodge in close quarters. Strong metallic armor can help reduce or negate the amount of damage dealt by the attack, but weaker metallic armor is unlikely to perform as well, and rocky armor in general is likely to take exceptional damage from it in most situations. The drum beating attack is a rare enough move that most will not have to worry about seeing it in action, but for those that confront a Rillaboom with access to the attack, it is a fairly powerful move that can definitely trip you up and make life difficult for you without moves or abilities that can help to mitigate the speed loss that comes with the attack. Considered to be the signature attack of Galarian Stunfisk, the Snap Trap attack involves user clamping down onto an opponent with a pair of razor-sharp jagged fins and squeezing tightly to inflict damage. In a sense, the Snap Trap attack could almost be seen as a modified form of the Clamp attack, designed to take full advantage of Galarian Stunfisk's armored form and is a staple for them when in serious conflict. During a Snap Trap attack, The user opens his body, then closes its form around part of the opposition, biting down hard and fast with the jagged metallic body fins to inflict damage without letting go after the initial strike. The actual damage dealt by the attack is fairly low, but because the attack is often done when there is terrain present to help disguise Galarian Stunfisk, the move takes on unique properties related to the terrain and, for reasons that is still not entirely clear, the attack deals exceptional damage to Pokemon with thick hides and or blubber of some sort, granting it damage properties that identify it as a grass-type attack, and providing Galarian Stunfisk a bit more variety to work with than normal Stunfisk have. In addition, the attack is a useful tool for detaining opponents because the initial blow does not simply end afterwards. After the initial damage from the constriction is dealt, the user of a Snap Trap attack will continue to hold the opponent in the constriction until they are otherwise released from the attack. This in turn continuously deals damage to the opponent at a steady even pace, about 12.5% of their maximum HP every couple of minutes, as the constriction cuts off blood flow or even causes excess bleeding. If let go long enough, this will eventually render the opponent unconscious and unable to battle. The amount of time spent constricting the opposition primarily depends on the user's stamina, but the continuous damage usually lasts for at least 4 or 5 combat turns before the user needs to release its grip to regain its strength. If the attack's initial force is used again while the constriction is still occurring, however, it will not reset the amount of time left before the grip is released, and may in fact loosen the grip in some cases, causing the attack to end earlier than normal. Even so, the Snap Trap attack is a painful strike that can more than prove to be a dangerous weapon as long as it can land a hit and ensnare an opponent effectively. Since the Snap Trap attack is delivered with an armored shell, it is extremely difficult to physically counter the move without the aid of a rapid spin attack. Otherwise, the attack can also be extremely difficult to dodge in close quarters. Metallic armor can, however, help reduce negate the damage dealt by the attack, though rocky armor is likely to take exceptional damage from it in most situations. Although the Snap Trap attack is not a move that many will have to worry about seeing in battle, when up against a Galarian Stunfisk with access to this attack, it can usually be quite difficult to get an opponent to release its constriction without knocking them unconscious, in turn making this otherwise simple attack a potential nightmare that should be mitigated with evasive tactics and strong defenses at all costs. Considered to be the signature attack of Appleton, the Apple Acid attack involves the user spraying the opponent with a stream of acidic apple juice to inflict damage. The Apple Acid attack is a move that can only be learned naturally by Appleton as a consequence through unique biology and connection with apples. These creatures have the capacity to generate apple juice of varying flavors, sweetness and tartness in their bodies as a result of their biology, and this even includes creating a special concoction by mixing the stomach acids with the apple juice that is created inside of their body. This is what serves as the basis of these creatures' Apple Acid attack, in which they mix these two substances in their mouth and then spit it out as a tart acidic stream of apple juice that scorches and inflicts nasty chemical burns on a target. On the one hand, this attack works very much like the acid and acid spray attacks in that the chemical burns it causes weaken the outermost layer of tissue and armor on their target, and the attack is therefore guaranteed to lower the opponent's special defense stat with each successful strike. On the other hand, the attack is also delivered with such scorching power that it easily has twice the base power of other acid-based attacks. It is still effective by items like King's Rocks, and while not normally very effective against Steel-type Pokemon, the unique chemical mixture in the acid does have the capacity to wear away at metal over time, so the attack can still damage Steel-type Pokemon. As such, the Apple Acid attack is a powerful move that can easily do some serious damage when used correctly, and prove to be an effective weapon for Appleton to wield in any long-term battle they are a part of. Since the Apple Acid attack requires unique acid to inflict damage, anything that might be able to wash the attack away before it becomes too damaging can help to at least partially mitigate the damage it can do. Otherwise, the attack is extremely difficult to dodge. Strong metallic armor can help reduce and negate the damage dealt by the attack, but weaker metallic armor is unlikely to perform as well, and rocky armor in general is likely to take exceptional damage from it in most situations. The Apple Acid attack is a rare enough move that most won't have to worry about seeing it, but if confronted with an Appleton that does have access to the move, strong defenses and moves that raise a Pokemon's special defense stat or lower an opponent's special attack stat are highly recommended for countering the attack's secondary effect and reducing its overall damaging capabilities as much as possible. Considered to be the signature attack of Flapple, the Grav Apple attack involves user grabbing and dropping a large heavy apple onto an opponent from a great height. The Grav Apple attack is a move that can only be learned naturally by Flapple as a consequence of the unique biology in connection with apples. These creatures are surprisingly gifted flyers that can move through the air with great speed and precision, and they can lift a surprising amount of weight despite their small size, which can allow them to use objects as projectiles in unique ways, especially as seen in this attack. In using the Grav Apple attack, these creatures either pick up or generate an apple that they then carry high up into the air before promptly dropping the object onto the head of an opponent. While the move might not look that dangerous, Flap will always carry the item high enough that the apple reaches terminal velocity just as it hits the opponent, resulting in the attack actually having a great deal of power behind it. However, this attack does far more than just deal damage to the intended target. For one thing, because the attack relies on gravity to work, if the battlefield is under increased gravity, the attack's base power will increase by 50%. Moreover, because the attack lands with a very harsh and powerful blow, the move has the ability to chip and even crack armor and create nasty surface damage on an opponent, effectively lowering their defense stat with every successful strike. This can make the otherwise lackluster looking move a serious threat over the course of a long battle, as can the fact that it is still effective by items like King's Rocks, and in turn helps to make Flapple a far more dangerous opponent than the diminutive form might otherwise make them out to be. Since the Grav Apple attack requires an apple projectile to execute, destroying the offending projectile before it makes contact can help weaken or otherwise negate the damage done by the attack. Otherwise, however, the attack is extremely difficult to dodge. Strong metallic armor can help reduce negated damage dealt by the attack, but weaker metallic armor is unlikely to perform as well, and rocky armor in general is likely to take exceptional damage from it in most situations. The Grav Apple attack is a rare enough move that most won't have to worry about seeing it, but if confronted with a Flapple that has access to the move, strong defenses, and moves that raise a Pokemon's defense stat or lower an opponent's attack stat are highly recommended for countering the attack's secondary effects and reducing its overall damaging capabilities as much as possible. Considered to be the signature attack of Meowscarada, the Flower Trick attack involves the user leaving a Flower Bomb precisely and deftly in an opponent's vicinity before it detonates and blasts out natural energy to inflict damage. The Flower Trick attack is a very special move that can help to bypass defensive barriers and ensure that Meowscarada can strike any Pokemon no matter how hard it might be otherwise. In essence, this attack involves these felines disconnecting and dropping the Flower Bomb they carry on their person at all times in order to inflict damage. This comes about because these flower bulbs have pollen in them that is coated with an organic compound that reacts violently in the presence of oxygen. So shortly after the pollen is exposed to the air from the bulb stem breaking, it will explode in a massive burst of natural energy that deals critical damage to those that are hit by it. This is not an understatement either, as the attack activates so suddenly and precisely in its timing that Meowscarada are out of the way when the explosion hits and it stuns the opponent, bypassing any chance of them guarding against it with their own bodies and thus inflicting a critical hit every time it hits. This is made even worse for opponents by the fact that the sudden execution of the attack also makes it impossible to avoid with no guards, ensuring that it always strikes its target without fail. Add to this the fact that the attack is also affected by held items like King's Rocks, and it can become quite apparent as to how dangerous this tricky move can be when applied in almost any battle scenario. Although the flower bombs utilized in a Flower Trick attack are fairly sturdy, they can still be readily destroyed by a strong burst of fire. If this is not an option, however, it is impossible to avoid this attack. Metallic armor can help reduce or negate the damage dealt by the attack, but rock armor is likely to take exceptional damage from it in most situations. While it might not be the most common of moves for trainers to witness, and thus is likely not to be worth worrying too much about, if faced with a Meowscarada with access to the attack, it can prove to be a painful blow that only solid defenses will have a chance to resist and bear through in practice. Considered to be the signature attack of Dipplin and Hydrapple, the Syrup Bomb attack involves the user charging up and then firing a ball of sticky syrup that explodes upon contact with a target. The Syrup Bomb attack is a move that can only be learned naturally by Dipplin and Hydrapple as a consequence of their unique biology and connection with apples. These creatures are unique as it is for being the result of two or more Applin essentially merging together in the inside of a syrupy apple, but the move also sets them apart from other known evolutions of Applin for the sticky nature of the move. In essence, the thick syrup that is generated by these creatures is not only perfect for forming a hard candy shell over their bodies, but also aids them offensively because the sticky fluid contains volatile compounds that, if concentrated enough, can be used to create an explosive projectile that can then be weaponized in the form of this attack. When these creatures prepare to use this attack, they gather energy and syrup inside their bodies to form an explosive glob of their sticky syrup, which they then fire at a target as a thick globule of the material. Once the projectile makes contact with an opponent, the frictional force from the impact is enough to cause the projectile to detonate, bursting into a curtain of sticky liquid that then coats the target for a fairly lengthy amount of time. While the attack itself might not be the most powerful blows in terms of damage potential, and the attack is not the most accurate as it takes time to generate the projectile for the attack, if an opponent is successfully struck, The gooey liquid will harden over time and restrict the movements of the target, lowering the speed stat every turn for the next 3 turns, allowing the thick syrup to form a shell on them that does little to help them, only hinder them. This can make the attack perfect for keeping speedy foes in line, and even if Dipplin and Hydra Apple can't always take advantage of it, others can, making the move a useful and versatile weapon to be wary of in combat. Since this syrup bomb attack requires a syrup projectile to execute, destroying the offending projectile before it makes contact can help weaken or otherwise negate the damage caused by the attack. If this is not an option, however, fairly agile Pokemon can still dodge the attack in close quarters. Metallic armor can help reduce negated damage dealt by the attack, but rocky armor is likely to take exceptional damage from it in most situations. The syrup bomb attack is a rare enough move that most won't have to worry about seeing it, but if confronted with a Dipplin or Hydra Apple that have access to the move, strong defenses and moves that raise a Pokemon's or lower an opponent's speed stat are highly recommended for countering the attack's secondary effect and reducing its mobility restricting attributes as much as possible. Considered to be the signature technique of the Phantom family, the Forest Curse technique involves user casting a powerful curse on a target that changes their type and effectively makes them partial grass types. The Forest Curse technique is a rare move learned only by the members of the Phantom family as a result of their close spiritual connection to plants and nature in general. Similar to the Curse technique, this move involves a Pokemon using its immense spiritual powers to create and cast a wicked curse on the target that heavily infuses their body with the natural power of plants, so much so that it forcefully adds the grass type to the type assignment for the remainder of a battle. As long as this move is active, the opponent's attacks and the way it takes damage will be fully reflective of this addition, adding both resistances and weaknesses that are normally not present. This strange move can require a bit of expertise to use in battle properly, but for those willing to gamble on it, this move can easily add a serious problem to a target and tweak its weaknesses just enough to make getting a super effective strike easier, which is more than helped out by the fact that both Phantom and especially Trevenant are capable of learning a wide variety of moves via TM and HM among other formats. Unless the effects of the move can be nullified through the use of a trick-or-treat technique, there is no way to directly counter the effects of the Forest Curse technique. In essence, the Strength Sap technique involves user absorbing energy from an opponent's muscle tissue in order to restore energy. The Strength Sap technique is a unique product of the abnormal powers possessed by some Pokemon to absorb the energy from other creatures from specific parts of their body. In essential essence, this attack is initiated by these beasts planting roots or spectral tendrils into a target and using them to drain the energy from their bodies, but not through the usual means. Instead of draining energy through bodily fluids or some other grass-type power, they do this by drawing it from them using fairy force or spectral energy. Since the move requires some plant-like basic anatomy to work more so than this power though, it is still classified as a grass-type move. While this technique does not actually harm the opponent severely, it does draw power straight from their muscle tissue and becomes more powerful the stronger they are in terms of physical attack power. As such, this move will restore an amount of energy equal to the attack stat of the opposing target, but this is not the end of the move. Because the energy is being taken straight from the muscle tissue of the opposition, this has the effect of weakening their muscles temporarily, in turn reducing the target's attack stat with every use. The fact that the Pokemon that have access to this move typically are not well known for having much in the way of well-rounded defenses and HP to spare can make this move a bit difficult to use properly, but against physically offensive opponents, it can nonetheless be a severely devastating weapon that can help nullify even the most imposing of physical combatants. Due to its unique attributes, there is no way to directly counter the effects of the Strength Sap technique. That's it for this episode, so stay tuned for the next episode of TM Technical Movement. Thank you all for watching this video. It is a great pleasure to share with you all the fruits of my research and all the pauses it gives to understanding the wonderful creatures we call Pokemon and how their powers and behaviors function in their world. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more work like it, please give a like, comment, and or subscribe to the channel so you can get regular notifications on when new content is being uploaded. You can also find links to my DeviantArt page, Patreon, and Discord server in the description below. Please, join me on this road to seeing what the world of Pokemon has to share with us, and the many mysteries and wonders that keep us all coming back for more.